If you feel like you keep repeating the same pattern no matter how much work you do on yourself, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've been trained out of your instincts. If you're like me, you've probably done the work, the journaling, you know your patterns, the attachment, your trauma. I mean, you lived it, but you keep ending up in the same place. That's not lack of awareness. You've probably caught on to that. It has to be a deeper issue. That's what I thought. And so I dug, I studied, I learned deep psychology, went into the study of religions, the study of philosophy, cultivated discipline for 10 years straight. I thought if I had the right discipline, if I could get it all dialed in, the structure, the mindset, all of it, I would inevitably win. No matter what the cost. I had to. But you can't out-discipline a pattern that you do not understand. I thought I could run from it. I thought I could escape it, and I knew very well everything that had happened to me. I went back and I dug it up as much as I could. And then I got sidelined anyway. So you think you need more discipline. You just need more time, more healing. Spiritual doctor, therapist. Every week, you feel like you're not getting anywhere. In fact, you probably feel like you're getting worse. What I'd like you to know is most of the patterns started when you had to learn to override your own instincts, when you had to learn to survive. We have conditioning on one side, and then we have our instincts on the other. With the conditioning, that's going to be the people in your life growing up, whether that be teachers, friends, high school people, relatives. That conditions you. Their thought processes condition you. The way you had to receive love, nurture, care, because at one point you could not give it to yourself, and it's instinctual. And then you have generational trauma, you have hereditary issues, things. A lot of what we think is hereditary, not so much, actually. And we can not in this video, in another one. Your instincts, those are more your feelings, your emotions, how you respond in a fight or flight situation, and how you adapt to your circumstances. And they're not all bad, honestly. If you want an example, for me, I had to learn to perceive my environment on a deep level. I had to make sure that people were safe. And in order to do that, I would scan the environment. What that did for me is it unawareingly gave me anxiety, OCD disorder. On the other hand, after I became aware, it gave me a leg up in the business world, in the sales world, and at work, through relationships, and even the ability to retain information, know the big picture, find solutions, find gaps and problems. If I let it subconsciously run the show, I was having panic attacks. I couldn't stop my train of thought. I couldn't sleep. I OCD'd about what somebody meant, what they'd say. A long time after, for days, their words did not match up with what they were saying, what they were telling me. I knew that they were lying, but I could not pin it down where they were lying. My brain just caught the signal. My body caught the signal first, actually. And then my brain was trying to figure it out in the background. And we get told we just have anxiety or ADHD. We could take ADHD as a great example. My mom has severe ADHD. My brother has ADHD. My son has ADHD. I have ADHD. ADHD, when you see it flare up, pay attention. I guarantee that something in your environment made you feel really anxious right before. It made you start doubting yourself. You're not wanting to do something, or you're fearful about doing it right or wrong. And all of a sudden, you start dropping your keys. You forget where things are. You can't find anything. You can't stay on task to save your life. See, these things are your nervous system, your instinctual self talking to you. You don't know how to relate to it. You don't know how to hear it. You don't know how to interpret it. So therefore, it's just running in the background, running the show. Then you have your survival identity. With your survival identity, that's when something happened in the past. A good example of this would be you got in trouble or things blew up if the house wasn't clean. And so you have to make sure the house is clean now, or else you're going to freak out. You feel like somebody's going to freak out. You feel like you're going to be in trouble, but nobody's holding you to it. It's just what you do now. It's your instinct. Or another one would be someone stops talking to you and you think something is wrong. You feel like this urge to make sure it's okay, make sure they're safe. And until you do, until they respond, you can't settle yourself. And this also gets called, I feel like survival identities show up a lot in attachments. Anxiety, anxious attachment. They're going to leave you. They're going to abandon you. Something's going to happen to them that's bad. We could use another one for avoidant attachment. So avoidant attachment, you're looking at a freeze response. Things would blow up in their house and they felt helpless towards it, like they couldn't do anything about it. So they would just shut down. Avoidants tune out their reality. So they had to learn to tune out something that was normally very abusive, antagonistic, degrading. And so oftentimes you see them just shut down as soon as things start to blow up or feel like too much. I get the label of fearful, unorganized attachment, so you get a little bit of both. So how that could turn up for me, which is why I have this program, why I know this. So anxious attachment. I have to make sure someone else is okay before I'm okay. So therefore, I'm going to be self-abandoning. I'm going to run towards them and make sure everything is okay. On the other side, the avoidant attachment, I'm probably going to avoid something that seems a little bit too big for me to handle in the moment. And usually that is something to do with myself. When it's something to do with someone else, I'm usually all for it. I could fix their problems. I could handle their problems just fine. Avoidant attachment side, I didn't want to film this video almost at all. I was definitely avoiding that and decided simple is better. So that brings me to self-abandonment. Self-abandonment happens through self-sabotage normally. We abandon our own needs all the time. Taking care of ourselves, going to the gym, scheduling that doctor's. Self-abandonment is chasing after other people's problems, people's problems instead of your own. It is abandoning your feelings, your emotions, things that you said that you were going to do, and you never do them. Self-abandonment also happens through avoidance in relationships too. You don't feel worthy enough to receive something, therefore you're likely to antagonize the situation so that you don't feel like the bad guy. But then in return, you abandoned what you wanted, what you needed for a level of safety that you're used to because you're avoiding breaking into that next level. When you learn to return back to yourself, some of the things that you stop doing is you have more of a pause response. You stop overreacting to situations. You realize before they happen where it's going to happen. You can interpret it and interrupt it. You know how to bring yourself back to yourself. When you have these things go on in your life where you're triggered into self-abandonment, avoidance, anxious patterns, trauma responses, attachment issues, not following through, a lot of times that is just being disconnected from yourself. You fall into the conditioning that you were taught back then to survive something. Your nervous system wants to bring it into now. When you start to interpret that, you start to realize this is not that. You feel it in your body before your brain ever starts to register what it actually is. And because you start to feel it in your body, you start to speak to it and create more of a pause. Decide for yourself, be the watcher, decide for yourself, okay, is this really threatening my survival? Do I just feel like I'm going to be abandoned? And if I am abandoned, do I know how to take care of myself? Can I be there for myself? Is it going to be the worst thing ever? A lot of times we find ourselves chasing after things that we don't really want. It's just a nervous system response of, if I lose this, I'm not going to be okay. So from here, you could take a step back and say, if this chooses to leave my life, something else, something better is going to come into my life. It means that this is not meant for me. Returning back to yourself means you get the awe and the wonder from before the conditioning You get to dream and interpret. You get to be in control of your body and the responses. You're not lashing out. You're not getting a split in parts because you know what that means. You know the awareness now. When something comes into your life that starts to resemble an old pattern, an old belief, or a register in your system as this feels good, you now know. Does this feel good because this is where I'm going in life? Or does this feel good because this is what I'm used to in life? And there's a difference there. Returning back to yourself means that you're not pushing and forcing something that will not fit. Instead, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. If it does, it does. It means owning all of yourself, cultivating your energy, protecting your energy, and knowing the security of being at home within yourself. See, you're not broken. You just adapted. And you know you did, because no matter how hard you try, you still feel void, like something is missing. These parts of you are missing, and they're not. They're just buried under conditioning. They're just instinctually running the show in a shadowistic way. Although I think shadow work is important, I have a framework called Mirror Framework, where it helps you see these missing parts of yourself as you're going through life, so that you don't have to keep going back and digging up the same stuff to see what things are missing. And it's not apart from shadow work. You still do shadow work. You're just not reliving old traumas over and over again. It helps you interpret where it gave you strength, where it gave you a tactic and a tool. I call this learning to come home to yourself. Learning to come home and be very secure, no matter where you are, what you're chasing, or what level you're at. Because this framework sticks. It sticks through all of it. No rehashing, no relearning, no revisiting. Once you know, and you just keep walking forward, whole as you.